Hello, everyone. My name is Juliana Petty, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Alliance for Working Together Foundation, AWT for short. We're so excited to have you guys here today. We have so many new teams. We have 22 teams so far. I'm sure we'll keep growing, but out of those 22 teams, more than half are actually new teams. So thank you for everyone who has volunteered to coach and sponsor. We're really excited to have you as part of our AWT JuniorBots program. So just to get started and get everyone excited, I do want to show you one of our greatest recruitment tools that we have and give you a little taste of the competition too. I'm going to share with you on my screen the AWT Robobotch trailer, which is also our JuniorBots competition. So I'll share my screen here and give you a taste of the competition.
Students are putting in blood, sweat, and tears into this bot. All of the hours that they have worked and all of the struggles they have gone through are coming to this one moment where anything could go wrong.
So I just wanted to show that video because it always gives me the excitement to kick off our JuniorBots and RoboBot season. And I think it's a great recruitment tool as well. If you're trying to get kids excited about your team, you can always go to our www.awtrobobots.com website, and it has all of that trailer that I just showed you. And it actually has a 20-minute documentary about the whole entire RoboBots and JuniorBots program, which is always something fun to show in the classrooms or with your school's meetings. So just to back up a little bit and tell you a little bit more about the AWT Foundation and why we do this competition. So as I said earlier, AWT stands for the Alliance for Working Together Foundation. And we were originally founded by Roger Sistar, who is the CEO and owner of Freedon Corporation, a local manufacturing company in Mentor, Ohio. He's still around and he's still a great resource for us. And he's often known as the manufacturing maven or Mr. Lake County, and he's very well respected in the manufacturing community. So what Roger did was he brought together the manufacturing community in Northeast Ohio. And the biggest problem that we have as a manufacturing sector is getting young people excited about manufacturing. So a lot of people, they have what we call the manufacturing stigma of thinking that manufacturing's dark, dirty, dangerous, and a dead-end career. But that's just not true these days. It's manufacturing, once you see how modern and exciting and innovative and high-tech and clean and safe, these really are rewarding manufacturing careers that young people just don't know about. So we ended up starting AWT back in 2002. And we had about 15 manufacturers that were all working together to promote these rewarding manufacturing careers to young people. And it quickly grew. In 2013, we became a 501c3 charitable organization. And now in 2021, we have more than 500 manufacturing company members, schools, and community organizations all working together to promote these rewarding manufacturing and STEM careers to students. So JuniorBots is one piece of that, and that's really, this program is all based around middle school students, but I do want to share my screen and show you kind of the depth of all of the programs that we have. So on this slide, you'll see that not only do we have the middle school JuniorBots program, which is right here in our programming, we go all the way down to kindergarten and all the way up to high school and adults, so that we we have apprenticeship programs and things like that too. So what I'm trying to say is JuniorBots is a really great start for your students, but just know that AWT is a resource. If your students grow on past the JuniorBots program, they can go on to the high school RoboBots program. Then they can get an internship with one of our manufacturers. They could get a career, and they can get their school paid for in a lot of ways if they want to continue on to an apprenticeship or an associate's degree or bachelor's degree program. So that's my plug about how AWT wants to support your students and your community throughout their lives. It's not just, just in middle school, but I will say JuniorBots is one of the funnest and most exciting programs that we do. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and talk through all the robobots, all of the JuniorBots program, so that way you guys can know the ins and outs of the program. And what I'm going to start with is actually the Google folders, because that's my mantra this year. The Google folders for your JuniorBots team are life. So, the folders that I sent out today, really, save that link somewhere. That's going to be, something that you're going to hang on to throughout the competition, especially if you're a newer team. It really walks you through all of the administrative parts of our program. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again and show you guys your Google folders and what that looks like on AWT side. All right, so like I said, you should have gotten an email from me with your Google folder for your team. So if you are a team that wants to compete this year and you did not receive an email from me with your Google folder, just shoot me an email. I'll put my email address in the chat in a little bit. So feel free to say, hey, Juliana, we want a team. I want to make sure that we have everything we need. So I'm just going to go into Chardon's just because they're the first ones here. And this is what every team's Google folder looks like on the inside. So it's everything is similar, just so we could give everyone the proper information. So I'll start by going over the guide to JuniorBots. So you may have received this information or you might have not received this. If you haven't, I really, really encourage you to go through the entire document because it'll give you a really good overview of the program. And especially for newer teams, I think it's important for you to share this information with parents because they might not understand the whole program in its entirety and some of the time commitment involved unless they have this information to begin with. So like we talked about, JuniorBots is a great program where we partner local middle schools with manufacturing industry sponsors to promote those rewarding manufacturing careers, to get kids really excited about STEM and the aptitudes that come with a JuniorBots program like this. In the JuniorBots program, you guys are building a 3-pound robot. I know we'll go over some of the other safety rules and stuff like that, and sometimes people get a little confused about the weight limit. So you are building the 3-pound robot. For the new teams and any team, actually, we have our FingerTech Viper kits. So if you're a new team and I asked you for your mailing address, that's because we want to send you your Viper kits. So that way you're able to use those as your kits for your 3-pound robot. We have Brandon and his team, they actually did build a robot from scratch, so you can always do that as well. But the Viper kits are a really nice way to get started with the program because we do provide you with a manual as well. So competition day, and this is a really, really big day, so mark this on your calendars. We always have our competition day with both the RoboBots, which is our high school program, and the JuniorBots, which is our middle school program. So mark this on your calendar, Saturday, April 30th, 2022. The location is Lakeland Community College, and the address is right there. We're in the auxiliary gym, building Y. There's no parking fees or admission fees or anything like that. But what's important, especially for the schools, is just to think through transportation. So just making sure you line up your transportation for that day. And also, any protocol that you have to transport students, whether it's waivers or, things like that, parent consent forms, just thinking through that and having that in your head. So we really tell everybody to mark off the whole day, just because depending on how many high high school teams and JuniorBots teams, we normally say the competition will run somewhere between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sometimes it goes a little bit shorter, sometimes it's longer. It really just depends on how many teams that we have. But normally we do ask the students to be there around, you know, if we are starting at 8 o'clock, maybe you'll get there around 7:30. So in the past, we have had the JuniorBots go a little bit later. So maybe if you guys were starting around 10, you would get there at 9:30. But again, that all just depends on how many teams that we have, and we'll be able to tell you the finalized timing a couple weeks before the competition. But yeah, just mark off the whole day for that. And it's really important, you know, industry sponsors and coaches, you are responsible to supervise your kiddos there. So we can't just have kids running around unsupervised that day. So make sure, again, that you have enough coaches to watch over your teams that day. So there are lunch and concession stands there. Like I said, there's no admission that we charge, so parents are free to come in and watch their kids. With the video, you saw how, you know, excited that the parents get, because it's really a neat and exciting day. Now this kind of goes into what you need to start a team. And since we have so many teams, I will go over this. So a JuniorBots coach is normally a teacher, can be a parent or community member. But this person is really in charge of all of the administrative aspects of the program and behavioral aspects. So making sure that, you know, your students are well behaved, they're listening, they're showing up on time, they're giving their respect to the industry sponsors. A lot of JuniorBots coaches are the ones that are setting up the meetings. So a lot of our teams, they do meet at the middle school location or a library or something like that. And then, you know, the coach, they'll often bring their tool box there to meet. We do have some teams that have met on site at the manufacturer's location in a lunchroom or, you know, things like that. So just thinking through the location as well where you're going to meet is always important. The second piece that you'll need is a company sponsor. So the company sponsor is really committing to the financial and, you know, I guess, personnel needs of the team. So the company sponsor would be someone who's responsible for, you know, if there's an additional cost or something like that, they normally pick up that fee, whether you know, AWT, we provide t-shirts, we provide the kits, but if there's something other that your team wants to do, for example, if you want to buy donuts for every time that you guys meet, the company sponsor is picking that up. The company sponsor is also providing what we call the industry advisor. So this is the person from the manufacturing company or from a mechanical background. We have had people that are retired who, you know, step into this role. But this person is really normally someone who's very mechanically inclined, someone who's great with kids, who wants to show them and give back to the community and show them that, hey, manufacturing is a great career. Skills and STEM are awesome career opportunities for you. I always recommend that there's someone who knows a little bit about electrical. Electrical work is really big, especially when we're talking about making the controller talk to the robot. It's always good to have an electrical person. And then I've seen a lot of machinists and mechanical engineers do really well as industrial maintenance mechanics. So that's kind of the person we're looking for an industry sponsor. We talked a little bit about space and the tools that you'll need. With the JuniorBots, it's very, they're more simple tools that you'll need to get started. It all just depends on the complexity of your design. But with, again, the Viper kit that we provide from AWT, there's a manual that walks you through how to do everything. So it's really, you know, things like screwdrivers and stuff like that that you would just, you know, use to put all the pieces together. Personal protective equipment, PPE. So this is something we stress the students. We want the no cut gloves. So making sure that they're cut resistant and they're able to do, you know, work on the bot with cut resistance gloves, safety glasses, and just always practicing really good safety. Another piece is we recommend purchasing like a plastic container with a lid. So that way, when the students are transporting the bot around, they're not holding it by the weapon or anything like that. We, safety is our #1 concern. So we want to really, really stress that to everyone. If your company or whoever you're working with does not have their own PPE or enough to supply for your entire team, please just send me an email and say, hey, Juliana, do you have PPE? And we'll send you actual AWT safety glasses and cut resistant gloves. So we're happy to provide that. And the last piece, I always put this because it's really important. There's a lot of people involved in the competition. Obviously, AWT administers the competition and the Google folders and things like that. Then you have the industry sponsors, then you have the coaches, then you have parents, and you have the kiddos. So communication is really, really key. I always tell people having a good plan. So meeting with, the coach, the JuniorBots coach or the teacher or parent or whoever, and the industry advisor, getting them on the same page and having a meeting and kind of setting the goals will, I think, make the season go really, really smoothly. So just having that smooth sense of communication and knowing who's in charge of what. So for example, if you're a JuniorBots coach and you say, hey, I want to be in charge of all the forms, I'm going to get all the forms to AWT, that's what I'm going to do. And then, the advisor is saying, okay, I'm going to be responsible for making sure that the students hit their goals of the build every so often. So again, those are kind of the most important pieces for the competition. And this just breaks down the coach's responsibilities, the company sponsor responsibilities, industry advisor responsibilities. This goes over the FingerTech Viper kit that you would be getting for the new teams that are on. This will be mailed to you. And then this goes over our safety rules and the awards. So what we do is we have the most innovative bot, the best engineered bot, the best documentation. I'll show you what your documentation is for the JuniorBots piece in just a minute. And then we have our first, second, and third place winners. So with the combat, it is a 90-second battle. And we have a JuniorBots combat judges. Many of them have been in our RoboBots or JuniorBots program before. So they know what the kids are going through. So they're trying to be as fair as possible. And they'll determine the winner if another bot doesn't stop or things like that. We do have the combat rules inside of our Google folder, so you're able to look through those. It is double elimination, so you have those 2 chances to get through. We do, if we have time, a lot of times we do grudge matches as well. So maybe you did your 2 rounds and you really want to just go against another bot, you can always tell us, but that's always just again, just depending on how many teams we have for the competition. And then I put a few resources in this. Something I wanted to tell you guys about, because I know a lot of you are teachers, is there's the Lake Erie College Credit. So if you're interested, you can email Mary Baumford, and she will give you up to 6 credits for your PD and graduate course credit. So I know that's a huge thing for a lot of teachers, making sure you get all your PD credits in. So again, if you want to take advantage of it, I think all you do is write a paper. So, and obviously pay the tuition fees, but it's a really great way to get your PD credit by doing something that you're already doing. The last thing I really wanted to highlight is once you are in your testing phase, so say, you built your robots and you're wanting to see how it works and how it moves, but you want to do that in a safe manner, you can always come email me and ask if you wanted to come to Freedom Corporation. The address is right there in Mentor, Ohio, and we're happy to provide testing time. So feel free. The cage is up now. So anytime between now and the competition day, we're happy to provide testing for your JuniorBots to run around in. I know we have a lot of Ashtabula County teams on as well. So ATEC also has a cage there. So Ron Maurer, he is the manufacturing instructor there, and I'm happy to provide his email address to you. So you can email him anytime and do testing as well in a place that's a little bit closer for you all. So that is the JuniorBots handbook. The other thing I really want to go over is the due dates. So if you look in here, we have a due date for everything. So whether it's the team information sheet, this is really helpful. It gets the demographics of each team, so that way we can report it for grants and make things like this possible. We also have the initial expectations for the the mid-season and the final thoughts. This is also very helpful for a lot of our grant writing because it shows the students, it shows our funders how the students have learned, about manufacturing. And it's always really cool to read how much your students have learned through the program. We also have our t-shirt order form, which is due on February 20th. So we do provide t-shirts. If your company sponsor wants to do that, they can do that and you don't even have to fill out the form. But this is just, if you're interested in t-shirts, and that would be really, really inhibiting your team because of the cost. We want to make sure to provide that. So we just want everyone to get it in by that February 20th due date, because t-shirts are really hard to come by these days with all the supply chain stuff from COVID. A parts order form. So this, you'll see there's a link where you can order different parts. So for a lot of our teams, you've been through a few battles. So you may have lost a wheel, or you lost this part or this connector. Each team is allocated $80 for their parts orders every year. So feel free to use that parts order form. We check that every week throughout October until April in the competition. So yeah, order early though. A lot of the part stores do run out, and things just take a lot longer to get around these days. So if you're interested in getting some additional parts, order as early as possible, especially electrical parts. Electrical parts take an especially long time. The meeting minutes, I'll show you where you put your meeting minutes in, and then your SWOT analysis. So between the expectations, the meeting minutes, and SWOT analysis, that's the documentation piece of the competition, and I'll show you where you submit that. So you go into the documentation folder for the documentation, and you'll see team meeting minutes already made up for you. So you'll just have to show the students how you make a copy of a Google folder and how you take the meeting minutes. This kind of just, elevates the program and gives them professionalism on how, engineers meet and how they do take meeting notes from the meetings that they have for the designs. Team reflection. So again, this is just those initial, mid-season, and the final reflections. They're really awesome to read. I've read so many of them, and it's been really eye-opening at how much the students learn, not only from the technical aspect, but just so much about leadership and taking risk and trying to work really hard for the team. So I really encourage you guys to take time on the documentation, because it helps the kids reflect a lot. And then lastly, there is the team SWOT analysis. So doing that as well. At the end of the competition, at the end of the season, we go ahead and we score this all with a few JuniorBots documentation judges, and then we award the best documentation. So even if your robot is not a moving robot, even if it doesn't even move, you could still win best team documentation. So again, we want to show students that there's a lot of different aspects that you can be successful at within STEM. The build information over here. This is the manual that I was talking about. So with the Viper kits that you get, this will take you through all of the curriculum and information on that. There are comments on the side for some of so this is where sometimes people get confused. It does say 1 pound on the original document, but we changed to the 3 pound weight limit. So it should have all of the comments on there, but just don't get confused about that. It is the 3 pound weight limit. We also put together a JuniorBots building resources. So say your team wants to go off and buy different parts and components for the build. These are really great websites that you can always go and visit to see if you wanted to get additional parts. The kickoff materials, so the presentations that Julie and Brandon have here today, We put those in there so that way you could have those. And this is probably one of the most important documents to review as your team is getting started. These are the competition safety rules. Very, very, very important. Again, safety is our #1 priority. So going through all of this information is really, really important. You know, just things like what you can use, what things you can't use, like a certain type of batteries and this or that. So I highly encourage you, especially with your industry sponsor, giving them this information is really important, because the last thing we want is an industry sponsor to say, you know, hey, I didn't know that I couldn't do this, and you know, I'm upset or something like that. We always want everybody to know everything ahead of time. This is the JuniorBot safety checklist. So before you guys go into battle on the Saturday in April, we actually do a brief safety check beforehand with our safety team that we have. And this is the exact safety checklist that they use. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone when you get there on competition day. They'll say, does your bot meet all the AWT safety rules? So the document that I just show you, is your bot 3 pounds or under, yes or no? Is the wiring properly installed and insulated? Is the weapon system reliably controlled? Does the JuniorBot have a kill switch? Does the LiPo battery, does this bot use LiPo batteries? So you do not want to use LiPo batteries, but everything else, as long as it meets yes, then that's a go. And then the safety team, when they're scoring you on the safety check, they're also looking at the most innovative JuniorBot and the best engineered JuniorBot as well. So that's something to note when you're going through your safety check. Those are the people that are also going to score you for those 2 awards. And the last thing here, this is the links to all of the due dates. So when I talked about, you know, the team information sheet, the student waivers and adult waivers. So if you're someone who is a one person and you're managing 3 teams, I highly encourage you to get you know, other volunteers that are going to help supervise your teams, because when one team is in battle, you want to be with them and watching them, and then the other teams might be in another in the waiting area. So yeah, having multiple volunteers is good. So any adult volunteer that's like supervising the team directly, or you know, is supposed to be in charge of the team, they would have to submit the volunteer waiver. But you know, parents that are just watching the competition, they don't have to do that. All of your students do have to submit the waivers. This is the parts order form this is the teacher's order form that we talked about, and then the bottom is the parts order form. All of these, by the way, are available at our AWT Robobots website too. So if you go there, you can go to forms and you have a list to all the forms too. So if you lose your Google link, always email me. I'm happy to give it to you. But if you just need to get a form real quick, and maybe it's Saturday that you guys are meeting, you can just go to the AWT Robobots website and just go to the forms. All right. So Julie, I'm going to turn it over to you, so that way you can go over the documentation piece.
All righty. I can't start I can't do my video, so just FYI. Uh-oh, I can no longer hear you.
Do you want me to pull up your documentation slides?
No, I got it. As long as you can see it.
No,
I just
cannot. There we go.
okay.
Now
I just can't do my video for whatever reason. Okay. Hello, my name is Julie Hildebrand. I've been a coach of I am the coach, head coach for Kenston JuniorBots teams, and I have been working with the JuniorBots since the beginning. When my son was in 8th grade, and this is my 6th year, and he is a sophomore in college in mechanical engineering now, largely due to bots. So I'm going to go over documentation today. And just so you know, I have a mechanical engineering degree. I grew up as a manufacturing engineer and have been in manufacturing for about 30 years doing various roles. So I'm fully in support of all of the manufacturing stuff that AWT is promoting. So I'm going to go over the docs. Like Juliana said, there are 3: team reflections, team minutes, and SWOT analysis. And I'll just get started with the next one. So the first one is team reflections. So what this is answers to questions on the form. You do it at 3 different times. You do them at the beginning, the middle, and the end. I would suggest just printing out a whole bunch of the forms and giving them to the kids on your first meeting, and then kind of in the middle around January, February, and then somewhere in April. And that's what I do every year is I just have them fill it out. Juliana said was right. It's always fascinating to see what they have to say. But I would just do it that way where you do it all at the same time. For team management, this is the meeting minutes. The template Juliana showed you in the Google Drive. The only thing I can tell you for sure on this is do not leave it till the end. There's no way you can remember what you did in September in April. So what I suggest is I print out a whole bunch of copies of the form, and I pick a different kid every week, and they're the minute taker. And so they write just a couple of sentences on what they did, and then I have a photographer, one of the kids, who takes photographs every week. We put them into a Google folder with the date that they took the photos. I can't stress that enough either, because you can never tell when the heck you took these pictures. So you can put the minutes together later, but get that information and who was in attendance on what date every week. And rotate the meeting minute taker. I had one girl say, "Oh, well, I don't know how to take minutes." It's like, yes, it's exactly why we're doing this. So it's a great way. I think everyone, when we're meeting all the time at work, I take minutes all the time and I do these exact same things. So it's really great. Also, we do them at high school bots, and they're very, very similar. This is an example of our meeting minutes. You can see who the note taker was, who was in attendance, the date, and then the decision made and topics covered. That's really where I'm looking for like a sentence or two of what they did, any actions, and then we attach pictures. SWOT analysis. So this is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When you should do this is near the end of the season. So you already know your build. It's almost completely built. So you have a really good idea of what your bot is going to be. So what you want to do is describe the strengths of the weapon, the weaknesses of the weapon, and then the opportunities are what opportunities can be taken advantage of by your driver in battle with your bot's strengths. I said weapons, but it's really bots. And then the threats are, what are the weaknesses on your bot and how to avoid those threats from other opponents during battle as well. So this is really a really thoughtful thing, especially for the driver to think about. And then tips, I would really do this as a team. I also print out a whole bunch of copies and have them fill it out, but it's a great tool for them. And then this kind of analysis is done in high school bots as well. And I've used a SWOT analysis in work as well. So it's just overall really beneficial. So this is the example of our SWOT analysis from last year. And so you can see, the flipper is not super fast, and how do you mitigate that? So we can fix weakness by blocking the gap so nothing can get under it. It's very sturdy, and we can use that to counteract any damage. I also really like our number 2, the flipper is very strong and can flip even the heaviest of bots. And the opportunity there is we can also use the flipper reset time, because it takes time to reset, to distract the other bot until the flipper is ready again. This was written by our driver who won it last year. And so she had a really good idea of what she wanted to do well before the competition. So this SWOT analysis kind of gives them the awareness of their bot, what their bot is and what's good about it, what's weak about it, and how to use that in battle. And that is the JuniorBots documentation. So I'll turn it back over to you, Juliana.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julie. And just so you guys know, you're really talking to a pro. Julie runs the Kenston team, and they took best documentation and #1 in the combat competition last year. So talking to a pro over there. Also, I want to note this because this is absolutely hilarious. So the initial reflections and goals that you set for your teams, I was reading through those. And a lot of the teams, their goals were to beat Kenston. And I thought that was awesome. So your goals can be like that too.
I cannot wait to tell my teams that tonight. They'll be so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Chardon teams. I know Brent's not on, but I have to.
Yes. Perry too.
So yeah, I thought that was great. So thank you, Julie, for that. All right. And Brandon, I'm really excited about you giving your presentation about the build. Just so everyone knows too, Brandon is his team. They're actually a community-based team, and they just had such an awesome design last year that I couldn't resist asking him to present. So Brandon, do you want me to pull up your slides, or do you want to share your screen?
I can share it. I think it says you cannot start sharing while the other participant is sharing.
Julie. Yeah, I think, Julie, if you stop sharing, I don't know if it'll let you, and then I think Brandon will be able to. I don't think, okay, there we go.
Okay.
There you go.
I would just tell them it's mud.
You should be able, yeah, I can see
I was drinking tons of coffee. I was
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Keeper. I am the coach for the Mentor Community team. I wanted to share a little bit of my RoboBots journey or JuniorBots journey. A little unique, you know. I was a part-time faculty member at Lakeland. This was the first year I actually stopped doing that. My kids are getting older, so it's just a matter of balancing time. But while I was there, I was able to, you know, one Saturday morning I was working out in the gym, and the gym is located upstairs above the gymnasium. So it's on the mezzanine where you work out. And unfortunately, I still don't work out on Saturdays. I need to get back into that. But that aside, you know, I was working out one Saturday morning and I saw this down on the floor, this robot competition. And it was right around the same times that BattleBots was rebooting on ABC. So my kids were, and I can't remember if we saw the Robobot competition first or BattleBots, but I called up my wife, Lauren, and I said, hey, you got to get the kids here at Lakeland and come in because it's free. You know, I went down there, and that afternoon we watched the RoboBots competition. They loved it. They were already into robots. And then at the same time, as I mentioned, BattleBots was going on TV, and it kind of became a family show. We would sit around and my daughter and my son would they'd try to pick which robots would win at the start of the competition. So when I was also there, you know, I saw a lot of my colleagues from Swagelok. I'm an engineer at Swagelok, and Swagelok helped sponsor some of it. And there's actually colleagues that help out with different teams. One of my good friends actually helps with the Kenston team. So when his son got old enough to participate on the middle school JuniorBots, you know, we would go and watch. And so as that was going on, my daughter finally last year, she got into junior high. in the middle school. So that was something she definitely had on the radar to participate in this event. It's an awesome event. Unfortunately, COVID hit. So at that time, Mentor Schools was a hybrid, going hybrid, half on, half off, some remote, and extracurricular activities were canceled. So there was a lot of uncertainty around whether or not they were going to field a team or not. So I reached out to the coach and he was unsure. So I asked Juliana, can I start a mentor community team? And she said, yes, definitely. So that's how it started. Yeah, the one silver lining of COVID, not a lot of great came out of it, but the one thing is that I was able to start a team, a mentor community team, and it actually worked out very well. It worked out very well for me. I can't say it's, that's the best thing for everybody to start a community team, but it did work out, and I'll talk to some of those reasons why it did work out for us. But before I get into that, I wanted to cover kind of my design approach. Like I said, back in the Comedy Central days for BattleBots, I was a big fan when I was little. I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, but a design engineer at Swagelok. My big thing, and I do actually summer camps, some STEM camps for the city of Mentor and stuff. I do a Pinewood Derby and everything, but I'm a big STEM advocate. So when I saw this, it's just a great opportunity to get kids involved in STEM and excited. It seems like anybody I talk to that's, involved with STEMs or kids, they love robots and they love combat robots. So the two is a good blend. So I stress to have fun because if you can get the kids engaged and passionate about what they're doing and bought in, if you can get them bought in and about that, then learning's the easy part, right? They're going to pick up, they're going to learn, and then that leads to team success. The more they learn, the better they get at it, and the more fun they really have. Again, going first year, I didn't know what to expect. I was a kind of a fan of the competition. I saw it throughout the years. I talked to my friend who worked on the Kinston team, so I kind of knew what the bots were about and had a pretty good grasp of how they worked and what we would do, or if we wanted to create one. The second step in the design approach, and this is early on when you're meeting, we just sat down and said, okay, what do we want to do, or what kind of bot do we want to build? So I had them watch previous years competitions for AWT, both the JuniorBots and the RoboBots. They're both on YouTube, so it's a great place to start. You can get a good understanding of your competition. You can get a good understanding of, the different styles or the meta, if you will, in the competition. You notice if you go to the RoboBots, there are a lot of vertical spinners. So I stress with them is, robot combats, it's a lot of rock, paper, scissors. There's not one, ultimate design out there that can beat any other design. So I try to do stuff different, or try to have them think outside the box. So let's do something different, but let's still try to be something that's effective. And that's how we came up with our design. If you're a BattleBots fan, our design is very similar to Huge on BattleBots. So that's where we got our design from, the concept. And then going into the design tools. So that's the first approach, is kind of understand what we want to do, what kind of bot we want to be. And then once we get there, we kind of do a general, or what I did last year, we did a kind of a general rough outline. Okay, here's what we want to be. Let's understand how fast do we want to go? What kind of power are we going to need? So that's where I go through and explain kind of basic fundamentals or principles of, gear ratios, circuits, energy calculations for the weapon, and general material properties. Which materials are a little more elastic, which are tougher, which are stiffer. Once that's done, I try not to go into a lot of the equation. I can show the equation, but we don't dig into it. What I'd like them to understand are the trade-offs. If you have a higher energy weapon, you're spinning at a higher RPM, you have a greater moment of inertia. What are some of the things that you're trading off? It might not spin up as fast for the same size motor. It takes more power. So those are the types of things we talk about. And then I use calculators all the day, engineering calculators. It makes my job easier. So there are great calculators online, especially if you're a first team. There's these pre-made calculators. The Run Amok site I have listed is a great site of different calculators. You know, you can calculate the energy of your weapon. You can calculate how much battery it's going to take. You can calculate how much your drive train speed and how much power that's going to take for sizing your battery. So a lot of calculators out there for robot combats. All you have to really do is kind of search for it, and then also reach out to the robot combat community. It's a great community. These guys are very passionate about what they do. They're passionate about STEM. Jonathan Schultz, he's from Team Huge. I actually reached out to him and said, hey, we're thinking about building a 3-pound version of Huge. And he was very helpful. They actually already built a 3-pound version of Huge. They battle. A lot of these teams got their start in these competitions. Beetle weight class is very popular in the robot combat community because you can get in for a relatively low cost. So he had suggestions. He was very interested in some of the things we were trying to see how they would work out. So I actually reached out and told them what worked out well and what didn't, and we're going to cover that in a little bit. But it's a great community. They're super nice and they're super responsive. And then also designed for manufacturing and assembly. I kind of am both the team coach and the industry sponsor. I don't have a machine shop access to. So 2 things there's one with the Beetle weight 3-pound weight class, you can get away with a lot of plastic parts for a majority of it. Now, some of your armor, you don't want to be plastic potentially, but you can get away with a lot of plastic. So that opens the door for 3D printing and additive manufacturing. So that's a great avenue to start teaching them about 3D printing, about the maker spaces. There's a lot of great maker spaces around here that are open to the public. Lakeland Hive is a great one. We went there for a lot of the things. And then there's other things that not all the maker spaces have access to, like water jetting. And that's where I'll get into with the sponsor. I picked a sponsor that I knew had the equipment that I needed, that, I had a little bit of a gap for. So that's kind of how we came about our sponsor with TrueFab. And then something that I do, we create a bill of material worksheet, and that's just a quick snapshot of it on the page. Kind of in the digital design aspect of it, before we actually have anything made, we kind of get a general weight of everything based on its density and design. Now, luckily, I've got a lot of CAD background, so I do that in CAD with the students. So it worked out well. We get a known weight. So before we even start building or having anything manufactured, we know we're in the ballpark for the weight limit. 3 pounds, it seems like a lot, but it goes quick. So you got to be careful. And then Julie mentioned the SWOT analysis. I think that's an awesome tool. It's not at the level of design FMEA, but for junior bots, I think it's at the perfect level to talk about strengths, weaknesses, and then opportunities and threats. And I don't know if we probably used it a little incorrectly or maybe a little differently. We did actually a SWOT analysis on a couple different concepts at the beginning. So when we looked at the type of bot we were going to build, we used a SWOT analysis to kind of brainstorm various concept bots, and then had us kind of narrow it down to our final selection. So that's one way we used the SWOT analysis on multiple different bots. And then CAD, that's a big tool. Like I said, fortunately, I had a lot of experience in CAD, so I could provide that, but you would definitely want to find an industry sponsor that has CAD work, especially if you're going to be 3D printing parts. You need those solid models to be able to 3D print. And then I created a quick slide of what worked for us and then what we need to improve on going into this year. The small group worked for us, and it worked for us, specifically my daughter's in a lot of athletics, and Parker, who was the other team member, is also in a lot of athletics. And I know sometimes, you have to say, well, you can't be in too many activities, but they both took robotics and they were both passionate about it. And just because they were in sports, I didn't want to have them limited and not being able to do something. So we created the team, and the benefit to it is it allowed a lot of flexible meeting times. Parker's actually lives on the street, so I could text quickly. We could set up meetings with his parents, and that made it easy for me, especially as a first year coach. I didn't have a lot of students to look after. We are growing this year. I think we're going to be 3 to 4 students. So we'll see how that goes. But it's nice that I got the first year under my belt with the 2. And then also with the COVID lockdown, not being able to meet at the schools, we met at my home in my basement. And nice thing is I have a projector down here, a home theater, and a laptop. So that was very nice when going over and doing the CAD work. I was doing it right along with the students. So there were suggestions, there's changes, and we get to see the live updates on the screen as we go. Then I threw in some of the parts, that worked well. The Scorpion Mini ESC, controlling the drivetrain worked out great. I do have over on the right side that the FingerTech Tiny ESC didn't work out great for us, but it wasn't because of, it was really minor why it didn't work out great for us, is because we ran at 6S, so 22 volts almost. And if you look at the graph I have down there, the devil's in the detail. I didn't see this until after we tried out the tiny ESCs, but the battery eliminator circuit, degrades how much amperage you can draw from it as you increase your voltage. So it would start browning out on us running at 6S. On 4S, 3S, it runs great. So it's definitely a great ESC. It's a small form factor, so it works great. But the Scorpion provides a little more amp total for the drivetrain. So that's just one of the things that we found out. Servo City, I know that was on there on the list of parts to buy. The premium planetary gear motors are perfect for beetle weight. They have different gear ratios for whatever RPM output you want. Our RPM output was a little slower than most spots because of the larger wheels. So, we have to count and change for that. Laser cutting our own foam wheels was great. That was a chance to get the students to the makerspace and watch, different types of manufacturing. 3D printed parts out of nylon also worked out very well for us. So even though we didn't use the Viper kit, our bot pretty much worked as a kit. A lot of the assembly, even though we did a lot of the designing ourselves, but a big portion of the manufacturing was doing the assembly piece of it, because we used a lot of the automated manufacturing like laser cutters and 3D printers to make the parts for us. Another thing is just the radio. I used an FR Sky Tyrannus. I definitely would recommend it to anybody else. It was great for mixing capabilities. If you want the tank steering all in one joystick, you don't have to get a separate mixer for that. You can do it via the transmitter. Adjustable end stops is another great asset. Adjustable end stops is really nice because if you're running at a certain voltage, say you're running your weapon at 22 volts and your drive motors are only 12 volt, you don't have to have 2 battery systems for that. You can adjust the end stops and only supply the 12 volts to the drive system. So there's some neat things you can do there. Wago wire connectors. These things I found a little bit later, or well, actually not later. We used those early on. One of the first things we did before, again, ordering parts, is we tested out our electrical system. So we had the motors, the weapon motor, and just hooking up to the battery without anything attached to it, just to see and make sure everything worked with the receiver, the batteries, the transmitter. That's the first thing. If you can get that out of the way, that's awesome, because that's half the battle, right? To get a driving robot. But these Wago connectors, they're snap over, and I was so impressed by them. One, it allowed the kids, without having to solder bullet connectors or anything, it allowed us to do a lot of wire testing in different configurations. And 2, they held up so well that we just decided to keep them in our main bot instead of welding. They were lightweight. They could take 30 amps. So we used them, and we didn't have any issues on the day of combat. Now, I can't say that that might not work out for all designs. Our designs tended to absorb, a lot of the impacts. Our body was so far off the ground, and we used, the foam wheels. But something that we would probably definitely use again. And then sponsors, that's a big part as well. Use your industry sponsor, and if you can, I know you can in all cases, but try to match up with where your needs are. If you don't have great CAD capability, try to find an industry sponsor that can help you with that. If you don't have great manufacturing capability, try to find an industry sponsor that can help you with that. Needs improved, so definitely. I was happy when the date got moved a little bit. I was under the crunch a little bit as a team. I think we probably procrastinated a little once we found out the date moved, but probably a little too much. More driving and testing. So definitely, when you get your bot completed as soon as you can and get it in a test box. I think our driving worked out really well. Obviously, our weapon wasn't fully optimized. We struck the ground, and controlling it was a little more difficult than we anticipated, but it was the first year jitters. We plan to get that out this year. As Juliana said, get into a test box. Freedon has one. ATEC was mentioned. I think we're actually building. I think we'll be able to build our own this year, but that's something we're definitely thinking strongly about. I mentioned the FingerTech Tinies. It was just the BEC is just something to be careful with as you go up in voltage. Our guide bar design, our robot was kind of unique. I'll scroll back up. Having the bigger bot and these guide bars prevent the robot body from just spinning, right? And driving. Those didn't work out, as good as they could have, and that's something. And that's something I want to point out. After the competition, it was just that they had so many more ideas, right? They're just spilling ideas on the way home, and it was just it was something. It's cool to see. Again, having the team local. During the summer, they were talking about all the different kind of ideas or things they want to change. And then the big thing is more control. Our bot lacked a little control at times. Again, that's a big part of that was the weapon striking the ground. Another big part was just the gyroscopic forces of the weapon. So, and then what does success look like? I have 2 happy students smiling, so that's why I put the picture up here. And then I also, it was funny, we spent probably 2 full meetings going over the logo and what we're going to call our bot and what we're going to call our team. But it's very important. And you might not have an engineer in your midst on your team, but you might have a graphic designer. So those are things like there's different areas where the students can pick up. And I saw a difference just between the 2 I had. And then it was just a shout out to my sponsor again, because they did a great job with the parts that we couldn't 3D print, the parts that needed to be routed or even water jet or AR 500 impactors. They did a great job for us. So that's all I had. So I appreciate this time. It's a great program, and looking forward to it again this year.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brandon. That was a great presentation. For anybody who's listening, maybe you're kind of like mulling over the information, you can put your questions in the chat box, and then I'll be sure to get to them and read them to our panelists if we have time. And if not, if you're one of those people that just needs extra time to process, I'm one of those people. I did drop Brandon and Julie's email address in there, so I hope that's okay with you guys, but I know you guys are super nice and always willing to help, so I thought you guys wouldn't mind that. Another thing I did want to bring up, so Kaylee, thank you so much for putting this in the chat. A lot of teams, you might have sponsors from previous years. Of course, email them and get synced up with them, or maybe someone like, for example, my husband's a mechanical engineer, so he was really excited to help work with kids. It was an easy fit. But if you do need an industry sponsor, please email me. I put my email in the chat and say, hey, Juliana, we really need help finding an industry sponsor. The sooner the better. Obviously, you can start meeting if you want to do this as a classroom project. You can start meeting immediately. And what we've seen for classrooms is people use their industry sponsor to zoom in, meet the kids during the class and things like that. So Everybody runs their program a little bit differently too. As Brandon said, he's a community team. Julie's a community team. There's teams that are, classrooms where, they meet during classes and the students get credit for it. And then there's after school club teams. So whatever your team is, we always can help you out and troubleshoot and make things work for you. But it's a really, really great program. Another thing I wanted to show you guys really quickly was when Brandon talked about CAD and CAM software. I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about this great resource. So it is called Onshape, and I shared my screen just to give you an example. It's a cloud-based CAD software, so that way, no matter where you are, you can log on to your Onshape educator license. And I got mine through AWT too. So anytime, you want to submit the application because you're doing AWT JuniorBots, even if you're not a teacher, it's technically an educational program. So you're able to get the educator license for free. And you can go through and, again, create your designs. And no matter where you are, you can always log in to see your design. So I think that's very helpful, especially for industry sponsors, because it's not like trading back and forth emails with designs and whatnot. It's all in the cloud-based system. So I wanted to show you guys that. All right. So for our next segment that we have, it's talking about being a successful industry sponsor. And Robert Hale, he is the RoboBots coach for Freedon. They sponsor Lakeshore Compact and Lake Catholic schools in Menor. And I think Robert is one of the greatest coaches just because he brings a lot of, excitement from the industry. He loves kids, and I think you'll learn a lot from him. So I'll go ahead and share the video we made with Robert.
What advice would you give to a new RoboBots coach?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, so those are the three.
Yeah, make it fun. Make it fun and be honest. It's that simple. I mean, the best way to keep anybody interested in something is to entertain them. I mean, you just can't sit there and say, we'll do this and do that and just, everything be blank. You know what I mean? You got to have, put some heart into it. So when they see what you're putting into it, then they're going to want to do the same thing. It's that simple. I mean, if I just come in there with a generic attitude, what do I expect? So you've got to be able to reach out, let them know, and always teach them, treat them with respect. Stay on their level. Don't ever try and look down on them. Period. Just because they're young and they're going to be achievers, and you just got to make sure you tell them that.
I love it. That's awesome. For the other question I wanted to ask you is, how do you keep the kids engaged or excited about the whole program?
Oh, it's easy. I just sit there and tell them we have an objective. The objective is to kill and destroy their robot. So you have to put that excitement into them. You have to tell them. You have to let them know what's coming. You have to challenge them. If you don't challenge them, then you're wasting your time and all your efforts. So one of the things you have to do is you have to challenge them. And when they do a good job, then you go ahead and, you don't hesitate to say, you know what, you did a great job. Give them a pat on the back. Plain and simple.
That's awesome. Could you tell me a little bit about some of the goals that you set and the rewards that you provide?
Well, so with the goals, as a matter of fact, I just set one Saturday. Okay, this is our third week. We have 8 weeks up until we go into Christmas break. So what I've done was I said, listen, we need a rolling robot. I don't care about the weapon right now, but what I do care about is we need a rolling robot. If we can get that rolling robot by this date, then we will I will reach out to the company. A couple of years ago, we went to the think tank in Cleveland, which the kids thought was a great idea. They had a great time, okay? And unfortunately, because of COVID, the think tank was closed last year prior to us shutting everything down. But I had reached out to the company, and they had agreed to entertain the idea of taking the kids and dropping them off or having them dropped off at the bowling alley. And we spend a Saturday morning bowling, having fun, acting like kids again. So that's the goal, and that's the reward. And then the goal at the end is to make the complete robot, to go into battle and to win, to walk out with our names on that trophy. And we will fight tooth and nail to do that. I promise them that I give them 110% of everything I have. And all I ask them is to give me the same thing. And I promise you, sometimes they give me more. And, you know, that's whenever I look at all of them, just tell them how proud I am. You know, that's it.
That's awesome. I love it. And how do you take the RoboBots program and relate it back to an actual career in manufacturing?
So, to be honest with you, there's going to be some kids who's not going to go to college. We know that. I didn't have the opportunity, you know. And what we try to do is we try to get these kids in here. We give them the opportunity to make something. Listen, I've always looked at machining as being an artist. We start out with a block of metal, and at the end, we have a piece of art. And that's what I try to explain to them. So when we're sitting there doing some machining on a Bridgeport or on a lathe, you know, I tell them, I say, we're going to start with a block of metal, but we're going to make a piece of art when we're done. So, you know, you've got to entertain them with that idea, you know, and then you've got to push them to see what their future could be. Because like I said, you know, some of these kids just don't have the opportunity. This is a great trade. This is a great trade. Listen, you're going to have opportunities in your life, you know, that you'll probably never have if you did something else. You know, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I love it. I do. I enjoy doing what I do, you know, and I enjoy working with these kids. You know, when I first started to do this, everybody was like, you want to work with the kids? Absolutely. You know, because I want these kids, just like everybody else, to make something out of their lives. You know, give them a mechanical skill that they are lacking right now. You know, that's my goal. And, you know, one of the other things I want to touch on is I'm a coach, and Brian's a coach. This is my third year doing this. And you sit there, you know, and people say, well, what do you get out of it? Why would I want to be a coach? Listen, to me, it's the greatest thing in the world, because you get these young kids to come in, you know, and you hear their stories, and you can relate to them. And then, you know, next thing you know, you have a bond. You know what I mean? I mean, I had 4 kids graduate last year, and I miss them. I do. You know, it's because of the bond that you develop over the years, you know, of doing this, you know. So do I get something out of this? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I'll be honest with you, if we could get more coaches and just let them have the opportunity to see what they'll get out of this, you know, I promise you they'll enjoy it.
The last question I have for you, Robert, is can you talk about some of the successes that you've seen through the program, through students maybe gaining technical knowledge, employment?
I have a wonderful story. So we have this young girl, I want to say her name is Anastasia. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So when she started here last year, if I'm over on one Bridgeport working with kids, and Matt was working with some other kids, and I heard her say, I can't do that. I'm scared. So immediately I told Matt, I said, come over here and work with these kids. I'm going to work with her. So I walk over there and I said, what's wrong? She goes, I'm afraid. I said, what are you afraid of? Well, I'm just afraid. I said, first of all, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I'm not going to let nothing hurt you. I promise you that, right? I said, now watch me. And I took the handle and I turned the handle and turned a little bit of metal. Came back, I said, okay, you try it. She was very hesitant to do it. And then all of a sudden she did it, right? True story. I worked with her throughout that whole day. She'd hit the air hose and practically jumped to the ceiling. It scared her so bad. 3 weeks later, I have her training other people how to run that machine. Now you guys wonder what I get out of that by being a coach? I get that. That's what I get. That's what I get, period. So about 4 months later, 3 months later, her parents come in. Now anytime a parent comes in, I always have a conversation with them. I thank them for allowing their child to come and spend time with us. Before I could even open my mouth, the father and the mom look at me and says, I don't know what you did. I'm looking at them like, I don't understand what you're talking about. They said, I have never seen my daughter have more confidence in herself than she does now. I don't know what you've done in 3 months' time. Whatever it is, don't stop. Right? So that's another thing I get out of it. Yeah, I'm selfish. I am, because I enjoy this and I enjoy seeing these kids succeed. So what this does is it gives these kids an opportunity to try something, see if they like it, and we give them a future. That's what we're doing. We're giving them a future, okay? And hopefully if everything goes the way we want it to go, they'll graduate high school, then they'll come here. We have a system in place where they can come here. We'll put them through 4 years of school, and then after that, they'll work for us. But while they're going to school, they'll also work for us. So we have a goal, and the goal is to just make this a better place. That's all there is to it. So.
Love it. Great job. Anything else you want to say before?
Well, before I do leave, I want to thank AWT, and I want to thank everybody else. This isn't the coaches, you know, this is the teachers that come here every week. You know, I have a lot of respect for these teachers that come in here. They spend so much time, and I praise them when they're here. You know, they spend so much time with these kids. You know, you would think that after being around all these kids for 5 days, they'd want to just kind of stay away, but they don't. So kudos to the teachers. Kudos to everybody that's involved in AWT, because if it wasn't for you and everybody's hard work, we wouldn't have the success that we have.
So I love hearing from Robert and a lot of the industry sponsors who are really passionate about, you know, their career in manufacturing and their journey. So what I want to leave you guys with today is I hope you guys learned a lot from this. For some of the new teams, I know you might be feeling a little overwhelmed with the amount of information, but just know that we're here. I email the teams out all the time when something is due, or you know what's going to happen next. So don't be overwhelmed. We're a really great community here, and really, like Robert said, our goal is just to do a great thing for the kids and allow them to get these STEM and mechanical aptitudes, so that way their future is unlimited. And again, just my shameless plug for other things that AWT does. Teachers, we're happy to take you on tours to the manufacturing facilities. Like I said, if you need an industry sponsor, just email me. We're happy to sync you up, so that way your school and your team and you have a great connection to the industry. And lastly, my plug just for the manufacturing sector in general is our companies are really passionate about continuous improvement. So whether that's someone who, wants to come straight out of high school and get trained on the job, they can do that. If they want to do apprenticeships, which we have our AWT apprenticeships, which by the way, you can get 22 college credits at Lakeland Community College towards an associate degree through doing our apprenticeship programs. And they're they're at no cost to the individual, and they're working and gaining skills and wages and things like that. Or if you want to get a bachelor's degree in something, our companies are very much for that. They will do tuition reimbursement, educational benefits, and that's something I think kids need to know, that this is, even though they're only in middle school, they're going to start making decisions really quickly about the rest of their lives. So again, this program gives them an opportunity to really experience what it's like to work in the STEM field, and also have an opportunity if they want to, go to college, or if they want to do an apprenticeship program. So I just want to thank you guys all for being here today and sharing your time with us. I'll be sure to upload this video into your Google folder as well. And if you have any questions, don't be a stranger and reach out. And thank you so much again, Brandon and Julie, for being our panelists today. We really appreciate it. All righty. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.